Breaking news today, the Jacksonville Jaguars decide to hire Byron Leftwich. And it's interesting what the role of Trent Baalke is going to be with Byron Leftwich, the GM that is in Jacksonville that seems like a lame duck general manager. Believe was also there with Urban Meyer. So Byron Leftwich gets this job, and I think that Byron Leftwich offers a lot of really positive things to Jacksonville. Unlike Doug Marrone, unlike, Tom Coughlin in his later years, and unlike Urban Meyer, I believe that Byron Leftwich has great potential to connect to the players. I mean, he's young. He's 42 years old. He just played in the NFL just about 4 or 5 years ago. So Byron Leftwich is going to be able to really connect with these players. And as a quarterback, you got to be able to connect with players. I mean, Byron Leftwich has a great relationship with Mike Evans, with Chris Godwin, with Leonard Fournette. So he's going to make Jacksonville an attractive place to be. And being a pretty successful NFL quarterback, Byron Leftwich is also going to be able to connect with the number one prize of your organization, and that's Trevor Lawrence. That's getting him a play caller. That's getting him somebody comfortable. And I really, really like this hire for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a guy that understands what it's like to be the quarterback of the Jags. He brings some familiarity back to Jacksonville. It's a guy who wants to come to Jacksonville, and I really think that he knows about NFL players. Urban Meyer was a guy that wanted to run his program like a college football program, but Byron Leftwich is going to come in, and he knows about the NFL. And Byron Leftwich can try to fix this offense. He can try to help out Trevor Lawrence behind a banged-up offensive line. He can try to get the best out of these players. He'll be able to recruit in free agency pretty well, be able to sell his product, be able to sell his offense. His play calling with Tom Brady was excellent. Clyde Christensen, Bruce Arians. The way that they call a game, they call it aggressively. So you're going to see some great concepts that Byron Leftwich is going to dial up. I think you should get an experienced defensive coordinator to start out so that the first 2 years are good transition. You start to look at this AFC South. I mean, Tennessee and Indianapolis both have really good rosters, really good defenses and running games. You look at Houston, and it's going to be interesting if Houston hires Josh McCown. Then you're going to have 2 former quarterbacks that are in their early 40s that are going to be head coaches in that division. You have to see how Frank Reich's going to do. I mean, Mike Vrabel already has established himself as one of the best coaches in the AFC. You're going to have to see if Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson is going to go to Nashville. The Titans have a lot of draft capital. The Titans also have Julio Jones and A.J. Brown to sell. But for Jacksonville, you needed a guy that was very likable. You needed a guy that's younger, that's going to stay around a while, and you needed a guy to connect with Trevor Lawrence desperately so his career can get off to a decent start. You look at Mike LaFleur in New York, Brian Dable in Buffalo really helped out Josh Allen. So did Ken Dorsey. So Byron Leftwich, it's all about the staff. Every coach is going to come with risk. Some people could say, he worked with Tom Brady. Anybody could have called plays for Tom Brady. It was Tom Brady running the offense. They could say, it's like Adam Gase and Peyton Manning. It is a little bit of a risk. He's 42 years old, but I think everybody's going to be a little bit of a risk. I mean, Zach Taylor was a quarterback coach that people were mocking and saying that Zach Taylor was pretty much the coffee boy for Sean McVay, and he ended up getting a job in Cincinnati, and they were insulting Zach Taylor, and now Zach Taylor, has taken Cincinnati to new heights and has groomed a quarterback himself. So you got a really likable guy, a guy who's going to connect with Trevor Lawrence, a guy that's known in the business as a guy that's really good at calling X's and O's, and a guy that last year led, Tampa to a championship. And again, when you have all those weapons, you have all those egos on the outside like Chris Godwin, and you also have Antonio Brown, and you include Mike Evans, the fact that Byron Leftwich was able to get along with those guys and be able to learn firsthand about handling talent, handling egos in the wide receiver room, He really kept it professional. He's been groomed by a really good NFL coach in Bruce Arians that was tremendous in Arizona, the quarterback coach for Andrew Luck and Big Ben. So Arians is about as experienced as it can get. So you look at Byron Leftwich, I think this is a really solid move for Jacksonville. Again, it's a really tough job. I really hope the team stays in Jacksonville. I don't want to have a London Jaguars team. And I hope that, for Byron Leftwich, who seems like a really good guy, it's a great opportunity for a young guy in this business. But at 42 years old, he's played this game a long time as a quarterback. It would be so much fun to see Leftwich versus McCown twice a year. And for Trevor Lawrence, I'm sure that Lawrence is absolutely pumped about this, and it's really about getting the culture right. And it's not an easy job because the draft picks and the culture haven't been great in Jacksonville. But you do get a great talent in Trevor Lawrence, who's 6'5", who does have height, does have some arm strength, does have some mobility to his game. So for Byron Leftwich, he gets to go back home to Jacksonville, has a kinship with the community. I think it's about a B hire. An A+ hire would have been like my favorite coaching guy on the cycle. For the fit and everything, it's a B or a B+ hire. It's a tremendous hire. It's about as good as Jacksonville's going to do in this process. I like Byron Leftwich. It all depends on the defensive coordinator, depends how he handles adversity, but I think he can just be like another Zach Taylor and be really successful, and it's all about grooming Trevor Lawrence. It's all about this job. It's a very, very tough job, so I don't know if they're even going to be competing for division championships within the next 3 years, and that might not even be Leftwich's fault, but it's just such a difficult job. But again, it couldn't go any worse than Urban Meyer, and Leftwich has things to offer, being an offensive coordinator for the past 2 or 3 years, working with Palmer, with Tom Brady. He does bring great experience. He is very qualified for this position. So I do think that it is a good hire for Jacksonville. I think it's a solid hire. Who would have been my first choice? I like Mike McDaniel of San Francisco. I also like DeMeco Ryans a heck of a lot. I think DeMeco's tremendous. Kellen Moore is one of my favorites on the coaching market. Kevin O'Connell's really, really good as well. But Byron Leftwich is definitely, in my top 5, in my top 10. And I really think it's solid for Jacksonville. The fans are already pumped. And, again, this is like a rebuild a little bit. And for Jacksonville, it's about sustaining success. They had that great year with Jalen Ramsey and Fournette and Blake Bortles. They had that tremendous season with Myles Jack and all those defensive players under Doug Marrone, but then they weren't able to sustain success. And with Trevor Lawrence, he does have some ability. You have an opportunity to sustain success.